The ANC is going into an urgent meeting of its highest decision-making body today, with the Phala Phala report hanging over the president's head. An independent panel has found that Cyril Ramaphosa may have violated the constitution and committed serious misconduct. Speaking to the media in Cape Town last night, the presidency saying the report is an unprecedented and extraordinary moment for the country's democracy. And it says, for this reason, the next steps shouldn't be rushed. Let's get more reaction now on this, and we are joined by political analysts Prince Mashele and Asanda Ngoasheng, who join us via the virtual platform. To both of you, thank you very much for your time. Let me start with you, Asanda, and Prince Mashele, you will answer the exact same question. The President's office describing this moment as unprecedented for the country and extraordinary given where we are. How do you think we as ordinary South Africans should digest what's going on right now?
I think that as ordinary South Africans, we should consider and think about what's happening as, at this point, an ANC problem, and we should digest and understand this in the context of the ANC. So the ANC presidency has never been about clean governance. It has never been about doing what is best for the country called South Africa. It has always been about, what's in the best interest of the ANC, what is likely to help the ANC to continue to be in power. And so we are the last thought, unfortunately, when it comes to the ANC and the ways in which it makes decisions. So as South Africans, we should have expected a resignation a long time ago from Cyril Ramaphosa. In fact, he should never have survived Marikana. But we are not a country that makes decisions based on logic, based on democratic principles, based on ethics. We're a country that makes decisions based on what is convenient for the governing party called the African National Congress. And so we may be on tenterhooks and we may be kind of nervous about what's going to happen next, but only the ANC actually knows what it's going to do based on what it decides it's going to be, in its best interest. The ANC has never removed a president using the legislature. It's always a Luthuli House pressure to resign. And so if Cyril Ramaphosa is going to resign, it's going to be because he's being pressured from Luthuli House, not because he feels that he has failed us as a country and he has actually done the worst thing possible. We know Jacob Zuma has faced similar charges. He had at least 5 attempts to remove him, from votes of no confidence to all kinds of parliamentary processes that were used. And none of them were successful because the ANC stands by its own, even if there really is nothing to stand by.
Yeah. Prince Mashele, Asanda Ngoasheng is very clear that the ANC comes first before the country. What's your take?
It's true. Look, the ANC has no history of removing a president from the union buildings through a proper South African constitutional process. It has never done that. We have 2 cases of 2 presidents who were removed because of reasons that the ANC considered for itself. One, it was Thabo Mbeki. When Thabo Mbeki was removed, they sent a small delegation after a meeting of the NEC to tell him that he must step aside. We as South Africans, we were never involved in that process. The second president was Jacob Zuma. Same story. They sent a group of men, I think there was a woman also, to tell him that he must step aside. We as South Africans had nothing to do with it. They never consulted us. We just watched a movie unfolding. This is a 3rd movie we are watching from the ANC. If we don't like this movie as South Africans, our time is coming in 2024. We must decide what we are going to do with the actors in the movie, the ANC. That's exactly what is going on. It has got nothing to do with us. You and I, Toli, have no say. We are just commentating. The chaps who have power are going to meet today and decide for you and I.
Asanda Ngoasheng, the sentiment out there, at least in some quarters, is that if the president of the country is removed, or in fact, if he intends to resign, given the allegations that face him, it's a downward spiral for the country. Your thoughts?
We literally are in free fall, and we've been in free fall for, at least a good 10 years. This is not a new thing. I feel like maybe I'm jaded because I feel like everybody's behaving like this is a crisis. This is not a crisis. We've had a president break every single rule in the constitution before in the name of Jacob Zuma. We've had a president who was in and out of court and continues to be in and out of court, and we continue to pay him his benefits. And so there is nothing new here. That's why I 100% agree with Prince that, we are watching a movie as South Africans. The social contract has been long broken because according to the social contract, our job as voters is to hand over power to individuals that we have chosen through the vote. And our job is to hand over that power and give them the mandate to govern on our behalf. What the ANC has continuously shown us is that as soon as they get that mandate, they do not do what it is that the people want. They do what they, as the ANC, want. Governance has stopped being about service delivery. It has stopped being about ensuring that South Africa is the best country that it can be. And it has become about who can be first in line to get tenders, who can be first in line to be the first kind of billionaire. It's got nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with service delivery. We don't have electricity. We don't have a consistent supply of water. We don't have. And we just sit and watch the movie. And so our job is to start becoming more active in civil society to say we cannot allow this situation to continue where the social contract is broken and nothing is happening. Because here's the other scenario that we need to start talking about. Let's remove Cyril Ramaphosa and say he goes tomorrow. Who is going to be the president? The ANC top six has a number of people implicated in corruption. Number one, the contender for the presidency, Zweli Mkhize, still hasn't answered fully to the digital native scandal. Has not. Number two, you've got Nomvula who still hasn't answered for Busasa and the various other implicated, the various other cases where she's implicated in state capture. And, I could read any number of people on that list. Mutlante, who's being bandied about as an alternative candidate, still hasn't answered for giving his girlfriend a tender. You've got Paul Mashele, who has been accused of being part of the Alex Mafia, who has been, who as early as the 2000s was paying 96,000 rands at a restaurant for one meal in a country with such high levels of poverty. So there is no single clean person right now in the ANC that we can look at and say, remove Cyril Ramaphosa because he's tainted, remove Cyril Ramaphosa because he's bringing shame to us, that we can replace with, because the next one is also going to be tainted and they are also going to be bringing shame to us. And so the problem here and the liability here is the ANC and brand ANC. They are the ones bringing South Africa down, and they are the ones that we as a country, I'm not going to say need to decide like Prince, we need to remove them and take back our power and actually start to develop and build the country that we want. Because it is actually, it's unbelievable that we continue to be a country with so many smart people, with so many capable people, but we continue to allow ourselves to be led by this group of corrupt people who are just relentless in their fight for power and relentless in their desire to be the number one richest black man right now. It's sad and it's scary and it doesn't bode well for our future and it doesn't bode well for our children's future. What are we teaching our children when we allow ourselves to be subjects to these people who have now started to act like they are royalty when they actually require a constitutional mandate. They require a vote and we keep giving it to them. And I don't understand why, personally.
Prince Mashele, if brand ANC is as completely done as Asanda describes it to be. The Democratic Alliance yesterday says we have options in South Africa, and one of them is to dissolve this government in order for a quick election to take place. Who might South Africans vote for? Is there genuinely a credible alternative?
Here's the thing. You see, the ANC looks big and invincible today simply because South Africans have made it big and invincible. If you remove the ANC from government, the ANC will become like a useless NGO. Do you want an example of that? Look at it in the Western Cape. Who in his right mind or her right mind thinks that the ANC is a serious thing in the Western Cape? No one. You have to be crazy to think that the ANC is very serious in the Western Cape. It's a useless, inconsequential thing. So, if we were to remove the ANC in Tshwane, the ANC becomes a useless NGO. Johannesburg, useless, right? If you remove it from the union buildings, it will become a useless thing, by the way. The question is, can there be an alternative government in South Africa? Of course. That government, by the way, would have to be decided upon by South Africans themselves. So whichever party, whichever group of individuals South Africans decide to vote for and install in the union buildings, let me tell you, the following day, those people will be big as well. So this idea that we can't remove a big political party because there's no alternative, it's actually based on a misunderstanding of how political parties become powerful. Political parties become powerful on the basis of a vote. So I agree with the view that let the ANC be removed from power, given what it has done to us.
But Prince Mashele, my question to you
yes.
is, who in the political parties that are in the offing right now, who is that party that South Africans might say, in the absence of what we have known over the years, we think that you are best placed?
Now, I know the future, the short-term future of South African politics. There is no single party after 2024 that is going to govern South Africa. There will be a coalition government. So, if you want me to answer your question specifically, it will be a group of parties involving the DA, the EFF, the IFP, Action SA, and others. So that's your answer. You may not like the fact that they are a group of parties, but that is true. The South African electorate is not united around one party. So the bridge to South Africa's future is coalition politics.
Asanda Ngoasheng, you get to have the last bite here. The big talk has been that the president is consulting, but in a way, it's almost as though it's the people that he is consulting with that are begging him to stay. Might we see a resignation here going into this NEC this afternoon, or might we see a recall of the president? Which of these two options do you see winning the day?
I think it could go either way. Cyril Ramaphosa is a billionaire. He doesn't need to be president of the country, and he has enough power just by virtue of the money that he has and having had access to the presidency. So he actually has no real incentive to continue to be the president, and so it all depends on how well the people around him will be able to convince him to stay, because I'm sure he's tired and he's done. I know I would be. And I think that, in terms of a recall, again, that depends on the maths and the numbers that people do. The numbers, as they stood when the top six was nominated, said that Cyril Ramaphosa has the most support across all of the regions and all of the provinces except for KZN. Zweli Mkhize got most of his votes from KZN. And so it's about whether the ANC thinks it's not too much of a risk to put forward Zweli Mkhize and or another, person whose allegations we're going to be sitting discussing next week, to be on the front line. And I think that, as I said, because it's not about us, it's not about service delivery, it's not about clean governance, it's not about all these logical things that have to do with democracy and how democracy is supposed to work, it's difficult to predict. It's all about the ANC and what the ANC thinks is the best decision in terms of their self-interest. I don't think they're ready with another candidate. I don't think they're ready to potentially go into an election as the DA is doing. They're definitely not going to vote for a dissolution of government because they don't even have a candidate at this point. So I think we may see Ramaphosa staying, or if they manage to convince him, or we may see him leave if he decides he's done, he's tired, he's run his course, and somebody else must kind of pick up the problems that he and Jacob Zuma and all of the others before him have actually left us with now, which is a very scary prospect, by the way, because we have had a bruising 15 years, and it looks like they're setting us up for another bruising. So I'm just hoping 2024 is going to be the long-awaited wake-up call for South Africans that South Africa belongs to us, the voters, and not the ANC and not any other political party. And as Prince has said, we make them to be big. We put them into power. We give them the ability to make us watch a movie where we are not part of or considered even in a minor script.
Asanda Ngoasheng, let me thank you very much for your time. Prince Mashele, thank you, sir, for your time. All right.